Ladies and gentlemen, may I have your attention, please?
Are you ready? Are you ready?
Yo, what up, what up? It's your boy Rubino.
And this DJ in the building.
And you listening to the UpNUp Podcast.
Yeah.
Wait, what are we doing?
I don't know, just listen.
Yes. Welcome.
What it do?
Ladies and gentlemen, you're tuned into the UpNUp Podcast. I'm your host, Rubino.
And I'm DJ man.
How you doing, bro?
I'm good.
No, tell me why you good, bro.
Man, I'm just good, bro.
Tell me why you good, man.
I'm good every day. You know what I'm saying?
You didn't ask me how I'm doing, though.
How you doing? You didn't even give me a chance.
See, that was a test, bro.
All right, what's up? How you doing, bro?
I'm doing well. I'm feeling good. I'm feeling blessed. It's another episode. This is episode 27.
Why are you feeling
This is
blessed? Why
episode
you feeling
27,
good?
man. It's
All right,
episode 27, man. We made it this far. I'm always going to obviously shout out the listeners, but before I do that, for the first time listeners out there, this is the UpNUp Podcast. This is the podcast where, man, we're focused on cultivating the culture, right?
Yeah.
Strictly that and that only. We do that by providing amazing stories of individuals, groups, movements, right? And them staying on the up and up and going after what they want, right?
Yeah.
Relentless.
Always.
You know that was the name of Amazon before Amazon was built, was Relentless.
What? For real?
Yeah, man. Fun fact of the day.
How you know that?
Don't worry about it. I read some shit. I read here and there. All right, man. Don't quote me on my sources. But for those of you first time listeners, thank you. And for the listeners, man, the supportive listeners, the committed listeners, we appreciate you guys. We love you guys, man. Let's keep this thing going. Mm-hmm. Let's keep it rocking. For those of you who do want to continue listening and supporting this podcast, you can find all the episodes on YouTube, SoundCloud, and iTunes. Just type in the UpNUp Podcast. Make sure to rate, review, subscribe, like it too. All that, man. All that support. We love it. Also, make sure to follow us on all social media platforms at _ the UpNUp to stay tapped in with everything we got going, man. I'm feeling good right now, bro. I'm feeling good right now, man. We're gonna have a hell of a show tonight, right?
Yes, sir.
We're gonna have a hell of a show tonight. Now I also don't want to reiterate, as you can see here on the table, we do have the limited edition Cultivate Culture dad hats. You can get those. Just go ahead and hit us up at _ the UpNUp on social media. Online store coming soon. Now, getting that out the way, man, we never come up short with the guests that we bring up on this show.
Tell them.
Never, right? And I think all the consistent listeners, they're pretty used to that by now. We always bring a compelling story, a good narrative up here, a hustler, you know what I'm saying? Someone who's doing their thing out here in Seattle and beyond. And today's guest, I would say, how can I describe this man? Let me see. I would say he's a man whose consistent grind and hustle has allowed him to create countless experiences and events for his people, right? I would say he's a young boss who's keeping everything he's doing on the up and up, right? Obviously, otherwise he wouldn't be here with us tonight. From what I've been able to see and from what others have been able to witness, he's a prolific DJ. Who's actually owned his own media company since the age of 16. Am I correct?
Yes, sir.
Okay. His hustle has allowed him to DJ across the country for countless artists as well as festivals. Some notable artists that he's been able to work with, just to name a few: Eric Bellinger, the Migos. We're gonna pray for Offset. Lil Boosie, Pitbull, and many more, man. And I would say he's also a representation of what it means to stay committed to progress, right? And continuing that vibe of positivity. He's a positive brother, man. He's doing a lot of great work out here. So I'm going to just get straight to him, man. Our guest is none other than a consistent curator of culture, Bobby Akinboro. Did I pronounce that correct?
Yes, sir.
AKA DJ Blast. Can we get a round of applause?
What's up, everybody? How y'all doing?
How you doing, man? You good?
I'm good. I'm blessed.
Thank you for coming to the show, man.
Of course. Anytime.
We appreciate you, man. We appreciate the work you're doing. Now, if you're familiar with the show, as most people in here are, we always start the show off with the quote of the day.
For sure.
Right? Quote of the day, just to get the vibe right, get the mood right. So, quote man.
Yeah, that's me.
What you got for us today, my guy?
All right, the quote for the day is the whole difference between construction and creation is exactly this. That a thing constructed can only be loved after it's constructed. But a thing that's created is loved before it exists. True.
Who's that quote from?
Charles Dickens.
Oh, you went back for
We got
that
Mr.
one.
Dickens.
Yeah, I
on
went
the
back.
phone.
Back, you know.
So you know I'm asking you to run it back. You know I'm asking you to run it back for the people in the back. For the
That
people
was-
in the
that
back
was a
that are
long one.
snoozing. Yeah, go ahead, man.
All right. The whole difference between construction and creation is exactly this. That a thing constructed can only be loved after it is constructed, but a thing that's created is loved before it exists.
That's deep.
That's right.
That's deep.
Yeah.
Now to kind of give you a reason as to why we bring in quotes. Obviously, they're dope quotes, and shout out to you, man. You never come up short with the quotes, man.
Man, I be trying, bro.
I ain't even gonna ask
I
you
be
where you
trying.
be finding them. Don't give up the plug.
Don't ask, yeah.
But the reason we're bringing the quotes, my guys, because we always want to bring something that'll tie into our guest story as well, right?
Yeah.
And for everything you're doing currently, everything you've done as well, what's most important about the guests that we bring up on the show is that we show them the humble beginnings, right? We show them the journey, the process, however you want to, phrase it. And so for you, let's take it back a little bit. Let's take it back to kind of your upbringings. Where did you grow up? You're Texas boy?
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
yeah, shout out Texas.
So talk about growing up out there and kind of how that shaped, what you got going on right now and everything you're doing.
Okay. I'll give you the background. I was born and raised in Lagos, Nigeria. Right.
Okay. Oh, listen.
Lagos,
motherland.
Nigeria, and from Lagos, I moved to Dallas, Texas at a very young age. Actually, Arlington, Texas. Shout out to the Ag one time.
Okay.
I grew up in Arlington until I was 18, and I went to school in Lubbock, Texas, Texas Tech University.
Okay. Shout out Texas Tech.
Shout out to Texas Tech.
Shout out your
Reclam,
peoples, man. Yes, sir.
everybody that's from Texas knows Texas Tech is the livest school in Texas.
Say
That's
that.
just facts.
Say
That's
that.
just fact. I love my
Say
HBCU.
Say that. Say that.
And so in between leaving Arlington and moving to Lubbock, I started a photography and videography company. At the time I was a junior in high school.
Okay.
I started selling like senior pictures, and I wanted to figure out essentially how to make money without working for somebody else. I give a lot of props to my brother because he wouldn't let me work at Six Flags. I was like the thing to do at the time, right? So I was selling senior pictures, and then I was selling MySpace layouts, right? Then I was learning HTML, I was learning Java, so that's how I eventually ended up landing the job at Microsoft only 8 years later.
Oh,
right?
so you was heavy in the MySpace hustle.
But I didn't know that I was playing with some salaries at the time, right?
Well, we talk about that too. I talk about them with my homies all the time. Like we all could have if we knew. If we knew.
But yeah, that's how I got started in the entrepreneurship realm. I remember one Christmas, I think the Christmas I was graduating from high school, my sister gave me the Adobe Suite, and at the time that was CS3. But that's really how I picked up Photoshop, InDesign, Premiere, Audition, just the entire Adobe Suite.
Shout out to your sister.
Shout out to my sister.
Shout out to your sister,
And that then propelled me through college, right? In college, that's when I picked up videography and really started working on my creative set. I actually worked as one of the creative directors with the College of Business at Texas Tech University as a student, right? So I redesigned our marketing materials, our promotional materials, all that came, as I was a student in the same university. So it was a lot of great platforms and things of that nature, which eventually led me to Microsoft. One of my closest friends, Dara Oki, shout out to her. She's the one that eventually brought me to Seattle, showed me the Microsoft life, and I really, really thank her for everything that she's done. Now I'm here in Seattle. I've been here for 3 years as of January.
Wow.
So,
welcome, my brother. Why am I saying welcome? I'm going to welcome somebody else now. I do kind of want to take it back a little bit. Now, picking up a camera, obviously, it can be for several reasons, right?
Yeah.
Picking up a camera, but also picking up a camera and trying to create a business around it are two separate things, right?
Yes.
I guess, like, when you're in college, obviously you're trying to make some money, right? For all my broke college students out there, shout out to y'all. Keep hustling, man. But, it felt like you were able to kill two birds with one stone.
Yeah.
Like, what was that first project like?
Okay, so
Can you talk about that briefly?
Whenever I first started, I just really didn't know what I wanted to do. My brother just told me I couldn't work for somebody else. That's all I knew. Those were my guidelines, so I had to figure out a way to work for myself and start bringing in money. I remember my very first paid project was one of my friend's senior pictures. I was a junior and she was a senior at the time, and I did it for $35. She got an entire senior photo session in a park,
Wow.
And that's really what truly started my photography business, which turned into videography, which turned into DJing. So. Yeah, the hustle grew
it's like
early.
all around media company, bro.
Yeah.
I like it, bro.
Yeah.
Hell yeah.
So the LLC is Blastography, and
Yes,
then
sir.
under Blastography, DJ Blast resides.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So
Yes,
what
sir.
are like some of the differences between Texas and Seattle that you notice?
Bro, Texas is just better.
Majority of our listeners are from Seattle. So,
Hey, Seattle, I love you. You're now a third home to me, right?
That's your home, though. That's your home. You gotta rep it. You gotta rep it. You gotta rep it.
Texas is, you have the Southern hospitality, you have the diversity of cultures, you get a chance to meet people that are coming from all sorts of walks of life, right?
Yeah.
You come out to Seattle, it's a little bit different, it feels like things very, very quickly become what can you do or what can you bring to the table, whereas in Texas it feels like you can kick it with people that, came from the bottom, and you kick it with people that came from the top,
I think he's getting to that term that I keep hearing called the Seattle Freeze. You
can meet somebody, randomly in Seattle and, have a great conversation with them, and then you run into them again, they act like they don't know you.
Wow.
Whereas in Texas, if you meet somebody, next thing you know, they could be dropping you off at home like 10 minutes later.
Yeah.
Right?
No, that term has been floating around for some time now. The first time I ever encountered that term was a cat from Houston that I ran into at the gym. And he was just trying to find a barbershop. And I was like, yo, I got you. It was cool. He's like, damn. Like, he thought that was a big deal. Like, me giving him my barber's phone number was a big deal.
Yeah.
But for you to move here, right, knowing that it was kind of hard to insert yourself in the community socially, right, that must have been a tough task to try to establish yourself professionally as well, right?
Yes.
So what are some ways you were able to do that, to make that transition?
So I moved January 2016, right? That's when I officially started in Seattle.
Okay.
And, that's the peak of the rainy season, right? It's really dark, really gray.
Yeah.
So what I did during that time was I bought my first set of turntables, and I started DJing in my apartment every day for like 4.5 months. And I got connected with like the Collective, and I got connected with a couple other like Black resource groups, right?
Okay.
And I threw my first event. And my first event was 75 people in Cap Hill, and I was like, I'm DJ Blast.
That's not a bad turnout though.
For my first event, right?
Your first event,
Shout out to Vermilion, right? And for 75 people, I was like, cool, this is fine. And then I realized that's how I started building my network in Seattle, through the DJing, not through professionalism, right? And not through my second event, and my third event, and they just kept getting bigger and bigger. And I was like, oh, we actually might be onto something here.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, that DJ game is real, right?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? We've had a DJ up here, DJ Queen Cage.
Yeah.
We had some DJ talk, and I know you probably understand what he's going through.
Yeah.
Like, trying to throw parties and stuff. But for my question for you, and you could probably jump in on this too, being a DJ, right? How much of it is skill and how much of it is networking? Because I feel like you could be the dopest DJ, but if you don't know how to network, right, how are you really going to get out there? How are you really going to get those opportunities? So talk, because there's a lot of people that listen to our show, some who may be aspiring DJs, right? Or event coordinators, or, they want to throw events as well. So what are some advice you can give to them?
I would argue that network beats skill. I think there are a lot of people in the world that are very, very skilled and never make it, right? But then there are a lot of people that aren't very skilled but make it all the way, and I think it's because of the people that you know and the people that you surround yourself with. I think if you want to be truly successful, you have to have the right amount of skill and the right amount of network. But I think in every scenario, network beats skill. But what trumps all of that is blessing. You know what I'm saying? And I believe, like, God just got to look over you and be like, hey, you're the one. You got
to pay attention to them signs. Though.
Exactly.
And I think, like, networking actually helps your skill.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? Because you could run into some other DJ that's a little more better at doing this, and then they teach you how to do that, and then you get better, and then, you know what I mean? And it just keeps opening up like that.
Exactly.
So, my guy Binyam told me a story about how when you first got into photography, and maybe this is true, maybe it's not, I don't know.
Yeah.
But he said you were trying to impress a girl.
Yes.
Okay, I'm good. All right. Yeah. I thought you were looking at me like, what you about to say, bro?
Man, that was supposed to be under wraps.
I know. Well, hey, man. Well, no, I just say that to say sometimes your intention for why you start something, can be different than what comes from it, right?
For sure.
So shout out to her, right?
Yeah.
We don't gotta stay on that topic. That's just dumb. I want to know if it was true.
Yeah. Definitely true.
Now, you do a lot, right? You do a lot of events, but what was kind of like that first? You talked about your first event out here in Seattle. How do you capitalize on those first events, right? Whether they were good or bad. You said you saw 75 people, which, compared to what you're probably seeing now, doesn't seem like much, right? But after that first event, what was that feeling like? Was it like I finally did it, or was it like, damn, I wish it went better.
It was like, whoa, like it happened, you know? So if I explain my experience, I think I could better explain the feeling after, right? When I moved to Seattle, you know, a lot of the DJs here are West Coast DJs, right? So you get a lot of YGs, you get a lot of E40s, things of that nature. And I'm from the South. So I want to listen to Future, Thugger, Baby, you know what I'm saying? Like just Southern DJs, Southern rappers. So I wanted to create a space for those people. And so when I came and I started DJing in April, I was like, okay, is there even an audience for this? Or am I just by myself? So when 75 people came out, I was like, okay, there's a market. Like there's people I can target that might want to listen to this music. And then, you know, again, as I started to progress, I was like, there's a bigger audience here and there's more people that I can reach out to. You know, so I'm really, really happy that there was a need that I was able to address.
There's a science to it. There's a science to it. That's what I'm hearing. You said, and I think I read somewhere on your website that you, starting out, you spend a lot of time mixing songs, but also studying crowd control tactics. Right? Am I correct?
So Travis Scott to me is the greatest crowd control guru in the world, right? If you've never seen Travis Scott perform, go watch Travis Scott perform.
Man, all right.
You have beef with Travis?
He's dope. I got beef with Travis, but it's cool. He's coming back. We're gonna get it right.
He's not Offset. You know what I'm saying? So
it was the damn tour and he opened for Kendrick. It was.
Well, you watched that in Tacoma, didn't you?
Yeah.
That was probably the problem.
That's a whole nother podcast episode, but continue, please.
If you ever watch Travis live, you get a chance to see like a true master at work.
He's dope.
So I actually curate a lot of my DJ sets in the same way he curates his shows. So shout out to Travis, shout out to Chase B, because I truly believe that they've figured it out and they've gotten it down to a science. And again, I kind of apply it the same way and I kind of get the same result. And so it's like, I think they're onto something, you know?
No, that's real.
So is it like you make a playlist and then it's kind of like you're just looking at the crowd after, or do you have just something set where you're just like, all right, I'm playing this.
Nah,
you know?
I have my entire music library open, right? And I'm completely vibing off the crowd. So if I as I'm looking at people, if it seems that it's going in a certain way, I'll start teasing it that way. Or if I'm noticing like there's more people dressed in like African garments, right? It's like, okay, let's start going towards Afro beats, right? You know, you just pay attention to the people in the room. If it's a lot of older heads, like, you know, 30s, 40s, all right, then you play some more 90s music, right? Just trying to pay attention to the people, because I feel like a lot of DJs get lost in their headphones and don't pay attention to everybody else. And I feel like you have to look at the crowd. So I actually don't DJ with headphones, period.
Me either. That's what's up, bro. That's crazy because, you know, people could feel that shit. Like, they could feel if you're actually paying attention to them, or you're just like literally playing this song because I already have it set and I'm playing this, you know. So
yeah, I refuse to do that.
That's true, though. I think there has to be a balance too, right? With the DJ engaging with the audience, but also like kind of playing the cut. You know, like, hey man, I'm just curating the vibe. How do you find that balance? Are you the guy who's on the mic all the time?
Yes, I talk to the audience consistently. As a matter of fact, if I DJ without a mic, I don't feel whole. You know what I'm saying? Like it feels like I'm not doing my entire job. I don't like having an MC next to me because I actually like talking to the crowd. You know, I feel like nobody knows better than me how to introduce the next songs that I want to play, right? But I wholeheartedly feel like crowd engagement is number one. And again, I learned that from Trav and Chase B, right? I watch how they do their things, and I'm like, okay, I want to learn that, you know? And then, you know, you A/B test it, right? You try it, you fail, you try it, you fail, until you figure out what actually works for you. And it's kind of a formula at this point.
So my other question about being a DJ, which it's a lot, man. It's a huge responsibility, and I give all DJs credit. I don't care if you're DJing a goddamn elementary school little, fundraiser, or if you're DJing, you know, Summer Jam. It doesn't matter. You're controlling the vibe. So I also want to ask about, do you feel pressure sometimes, and maybe you can answer this too, bro, where you feel like you have to be the all-knowing when it comes to music, right? Like, they're looking to you like, man, you better play all the updated shit. You better make sure you don't play no old shit. Like, you know, like, how do you deal with that? And is it pressure? Because I feel like, you know, a lot of times that can get in the way of kind of the impact you can have, right?
Yeah.
How much music do you have to listen to stay up to date, right?
So I think that's where Seattle's a positive, right? Seattle's very, very late on music. You know, so coming from Dallas, like I'm getting music all the time. Shout out to my chapter, Crimson City Noops, like all the time they're giving me music, right? So in Dallas I might be late, but in Seattle I'm at least 4 months early, you know? So being in Seattle, like I actually feel like I have no problem. So
it's a regional thing too.
Yeah, it's definitely a regional thing. But in Texas, if I go home and DJ back home, like I have to literally do a download, make sure that I have all the current songs. Like I gotta go to club probably the night before and go see what they're playing, you know, to make sure that I really understand how songs flow and what songs people really react to.
You really about that shit, man.
Oh yeah, you gotta learn.
That's the thing, man.
It's research.
Yeah,
you know?
you really gotta get out there.
Yeah,
man.
you really got it. That shit takes hours, bro. And you won't even notice. Hours are going by when you're looking for music.
Yeah. And that's why I think I love that you're sharing the process.
Yeah.
Because that's what it's about, right? Obviously, you don't do this shit for free. We know that, right?
Right.
We know you're making money off this, but the process, right? Like the craft, that's what's most important, man. With whatever industry you're working in, how committed are you to making sure you can progress in your craft, right?
Yes.
Now, speaking of, the business side, what was that first, the biggest gig to you, like that one gig where you were like, oh shit, hold on, let me go in the back and get myself together before I jump out here, turn this shit up.
The biggest gig I've ever done was 5,000 people at Gasworks Park, right? And I didn't even know that 5,000 people could congregate like that. More so, it was not predominantly African American, which is my target audience as a DJ, right? So I was questioning myself. I'm like, I'm not a top 40 DJ. I don't know top 40 music. I don't even know if I should have accepted this gig. And then I went out there and I was like, you know what? I'm gonna play hip hop because that's what I know, right? And just to see, like all these Asian faces and white faces and everybody else, like enjoying the music and enjoying the culture just as much as I feel like an African American crowd would, it made my day. And then the paycheck on it, made me even happier, right? But it was really, really awesome to know that hip hop is now starting to transcend culture, like just the African American culture, right? I wholeheartly believe, and even the Billboard Top 100 now claims hip hop is the #1 most popular genre in the world.
I think it's been. They just now want to.
They're just not accepting it.
They just now want to put it on Front Street, bro. Hip hop been running this shit for some years now, bro.
Yes.
Nah, that's real though.
What are like some of the challenges though? Like as a DJ you face that like the normal person wouldn't know. You know what I'm saying?
I think there's based on where you're DJing at. Like if in Seattle, right? I think if you play West Coast, like Bay music, you're accepted. I had never heard Mac Dre Thizzle Dance before I moved here, right?
Wow.
I never listened to E40 before I moved
that's part
here.
of the starter pack.
Seattle starter pack.
You gotta have that.
You gotta have YG, You Broke. You know what I'm saying? Like there's all these songs that I never heard a day in my life,
that's
right?
Crazy.
So whenever I moved to Seattle, it was like, okay, I need to learn culturally what's acceptable here, what those songs are. And then there's some songs I can't play out here, like Chief Keef Finito, where I can play anywhere else in the world and be the livest, but here it's just a regular song.
It's a handful of people that'll rock with it.
Exactly, So there were a lot of culture shocks at the beginning I had to get used to, and then now I learned whenever I travel to all the different places across the country, I need to get in contact with somebody that's there, that's local, that can tell me, hey, these are the top songs right now in this city, in Chicago or in Houston or in Baltimore, wherever I may be. These are the top songs, so this is what you need to play, and then still infuse it with what I would normally do anyway.
So do you ever try to like mix it though? Like, you know how you said the first time you came here is when you heard Mac Dre Thizzle Dance. Would you ever take that like back to Dallas if you was doing it?
No. I get kicked off the stage. I get kicked off the stage.
There's just certain things you don't do. There's do's and don'ts, right?
If I'm saying if a certain song you're like, damn, this shit's really,
right? So
really popping.
I think there's a time and a place for everything, right? So even here in Seattle, like I play a lot of Dallas music, but I play it before the club really gets going, right? People start showing up at about 12:30. So up until 12:30, I'm gonna play a lot of new music that I know Seattle just doesn't know, right? So if you're in the club, you vibing, you're chilling, you're hearing all that stuff, it's like cool. But I know once 12:30 hits, people have actually paid for a service. So it's no longer the time to put them on music, but now it's time to turn them up. So I'm gonna do exactly what you paid me to do.
That's real. That's real. Sometimes you gotta.
That's a great way to fill it
out.
That's what it is. That's a great way.
Yo, you're a very civilized DJ, bro. Because there's some DJs out there, man, that really the ego, man, that egomaniac shit where it's like, I'm gonna play what I want to play. I'm not paying attention to the crowd. I don't care what you want to hear. I'm playing my playlist, right? And that shit,
dog.
You feel that as an audience member, you feel that shit, man. And I've had my fair share of back and forth with DJs. You know what I'm saying?
Literally, bro. There are times where DJs are just like this the whole time.
Hands down.
I'm in the VIP section. Switch it up.
One thing I do, and for anybody that's interested, in DJing that's listening, I turn off my music quite frequently. So as I'm DJing in the middle of the club, my true real life reaction is when I turn the music and the crowd is still rapping the song that I was just playing, right? So if the crowd is still rapping, that means they're engaged. That means that they're feeling the music, right?
Yeah.
If I drop the music and I don't hear any responses, like let's say I'm playing, I don't know, Walk It Like I Talk It, right?
Yeah.
You know, if the crowd doesn't say back, Walk It Like I Talk It, and it's quiet, that means I need to change the song immediately, right?
Yeah, pay attention to
I
the
believe
signs.
in live feedback, you know, and so
that's real.
I utilize that a lot.
That's real. No, that's real.
That's dope.
You also touched on something about, so that first gig you did at Gasworks, right? Now, I feel like you can oftentimes find yourself in that dilemma where am I going to compromise my integrity, right? Like you said, I only know hip hop. I'm not going to go over here and try to play no Justin Bieber, Miley Cyrus shit. You know, like, that's just not me.
Yeah.
Like, have you been in a situation where maybe you did have to tone it down or scale it back and it was okay to do it first, like, say a corporate event, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure you can't play no Chief Keef Finito at a corporate event.
No,
right?
you just got to play the clean version. You just got to play the clean version, you know? No. Like, wholeheartedly, a lot of times, I think because I'm not in it for the money, I'm able to turn down events.
That's a powerful message.
I believe that a lot of times if it doesn't match my brand or what I want to do, it's not the event for me. And I'm okay walking away from that, right? And then if I feel like it can help benefit my brand or I can really bring something to the table, then I'm willing to have that conversation. So I've done a bunch of weddings, right? And for them, a lot of times it's clean music only.
Yeah.
And so like those things, you know, you scale back a little bit,
because you got
right?
kids there too.
Exactly.
You got kids there.
You know, and so you think about what you play. And if it's a mixed crowd, sometimes I'll say, nah, I don't think that's the event for me. And other times I'll be like, oh, I can handle that, depending on location, depending on what it is. You know, and again, I just don't know pop music. So if that's what you're expecting, then I'm just probably not the best person for that. And let me recommend somebody
Stick
for
to
you.
what you know.
You know, because the truth is there's always going to be one person who's never heard you before. And if you do a bad job for that one person, you've lost one customer, you know? So for me, my brand is more important than any of that, you know, than, you know, $600 or $700 a night.
Yes.
Like, my brand, let's preserve that.
Yes, please preach that because, again, man, I think brand integrity is the biggest thing, man. That's something I wholeheartedly believe in, right? Like your brand is the most powerful thing you have, right? Period. Like,
I agree.
You know what I'm saying? Like you got a blank T-shirt, you put an Apple logo on it, bam, price just went up for a reason. There's an emotional attachment to brands. So I feel like with the DJ Blast brand and then Blastography and everything else you got going, you also want to have that level of consistency where people know who they're dealing with.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
So that's dope. Now, speaking of the corporate events, right? Because I always thought this. I'm like, yo, is this dude like, is he deliberately trying to get people to wild out in front of their bosses? Like, what's going on? Because I remember attending Zillow. They had the Zillow Network event. Shout out my guy Ish for helping put that together. Bruh, I was swag surfing in the Zillow office.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It was the most like cautious swag surf I've ever done in my life. You know what I'm saying? So, how is that? How is that like understanding like, yo, okay, these people are in a professional setting, but they want to have fun.
Yeah. So again, in corporate settings, you have to approach things a little bit differently, right?
Yeah.
But all in all, you have to understand why you were hired and what you were hired to do. You know, in this situation, I'm gonna take off my engineering hat, take off this program manager hat, and put on this DJ hat, and it's my responsibility to bring energy into this room. You know, and in a lot of these events, they actually hired me to bring that like culture to the room. You know, so I don't mind, you know, turning up a little bit, and you do it progressively, right? You start off with R&B, so that they know that there's culture here, and then you go from R&B to like, you know, mainstream hip hop, and then you go into the real stuff, right?
Yeah, it's fun.
You go full on at the end, right? And you know, there's certain songs that get people going like that, right? You think of Swag Surf, you think of Oh Let's Do It, you know. There's certain songs that can do that for the crowd that won't take you too far. It's not like a Juvenile, right? But it'll take you exactly where you need to be for a situation like that.
Now the Afrobeat wave.
Yeah.
That's something you put me onto a little bit because it's hard, man. It's hard for me to figure out where to go to listen to that stuff, right? And so you recently put out a mix, right?
Yes, sir.
A very, very well put together mix.
Thank you.
And please correct me if I mispronounce it. I'm not Nigerian. I'm assuming it's a Nigerian. Is it Orisirisi?
Orisirisi.
See? I just learned something. Orisirisi is a Davido versus Wizkid mix. Also had some really dope interludes. You had Wale interlude and who else was on?
We had Phil Ade. We had shout out to Common Conduct. They got that for us.
Common Conduct, yeah.
We got Wale, Phil Ade, and then we got Mayor-kun, which is also part of the 30 Billion Gang.
Okay. So putting that together, how was that?
It was dope. Whenever I first came up with the idea to make the mix, so this is my 5th Orisirisi mixtape, right?
Okay.
So the first 4 just felt like putting together a bunch of Nigerian songs, right? But the 5th one, I was like, I want to do something special with it. It's number 5. I've been doing this for a little while now. And so the 2 largest Nigerian artists is, Davido and Wizkid.
Yeah.
And so I was like, how can I? And they don't have any songs together.
That's crazy.
Because they've always had like this random feud between the 2 of them, right?
I hate that, bro.
Yeah.
Why do...
That's a whole other conversation.
Right.
But so I was like, it'd be cool if we put a bunch of Davido songs on Wizkid beats and a bunch of Wizkid songs on Davido beats, right? So I just started listing out songs, and I did user studies. I talked to about 150 of my friends, and I was like, what are your top 10 favorite Wiz songs? What are your top 10 favorite Davido songs, right? And then out of that, I got about like 300-400 responses, and then I just populated the most listened to songs, and then from there I compiled the list of the track list for the mixtape, and I started mixing from there.
Wow, that's crazy, man. That's crazy. See, I didn't know all that went into just creating the mix.
Yeah. So,
wow.
my background's in business, right?
Yeah,
I got my
sure.
degree in management information systems. So everything I look at, it's literally a matter of target audience and then marketing to that audience. And so the best way to market to an audience is learning from them first. So that's just
shout out MIS, bro.
MIS.
MIS majors in the building. Common Conduct.
Yes.
Which you alluded to. Tell us a little bit about that partnership, right? And if you can explain kind of how that came about and how it's been, beneficial for you in your career currently.
Okay, true. So Common Conduct, that's a management team, right?
Yes, sir.
Common Conduct has been a blessing and nothing less so far. I really, the relationship was random. And we're going to talk about this later, I'm sure. But Mosaic is an organization that I'm a part of the founding of, right?
Yes, sir.
And it's to bring a bunch of African-American males together in a place that they can be safe and discuss openly about, issues and situations. And randomly one day, this tall black dude walks in that I ain't never seen before. His name is Gideon. And I was like, oh, what's up? And he was just rapping, like rapping. And he just dropped like Wale's name. And I was like, Wale? What do you mean Wale? And as a DJ, it opened
Music.
up my eyes.
Yeah,
So I walked over at the end. I was like, hey, bro, like I DJ, but I can't get in contact with anybody. What can we do? What can we do?
Yeah.
We exchanged numbers. We linked up. We talked. And then next thing you know, like we're working together, right? And it's been all love since then. That it's been 5-6 months now, and consistently, like we're growing, we're building. I give him a lot of credit in terms of the way I think now. If you looked at my Instagram 5-6 months ago, it was just about my lifestyle. I was traveling here, traveling there, doing this and that. And now, like, it's DJ Blast. No questions about it. You know who I am, or you can tell who I am and draw inferences just based off of things like that. So I give him a lot of credit. Shout out to Common Conduct. That's a team.
Yeah, man.
I appreciate that.
And I wanted to bring that up because the reason I bring that up, and shout out to Common Conduct, and shout out to Gideon, Shay, however you know him. But I do also want to talk about.
He has the most nicknames.
I know, right? Pick one, all right? Nah, but it's important to have a team behind you, right? And I speak from my own personal experience with the UpNUp, right? And everything we do on our platform, on this podcast, is what you see on the camera is me and but there's so many others that are a part of this movement that we're creating, right? And none of this can be possible without every single person that's involved, right? Sure. So talk about that, man. For people who are listening and watching, who have great ideas, who want to go out there and do their own thing, and they know they're talented enough. Talk about understanding, like, yo, I may be talented enough, but I do need to also get some teammates on the, on the roster, man. You know what I'm saying?
It's absolutely necessary, right?
Yeah, talk about that.
Like you can't move anything by yourself. They always say it takes a village to raise a child, right? But it takes a village to raise a company, to build a brand, to do whatever. There's no possible way that I could be anywhere where I am now without all the people surrounding me, right? My best friends, I reach out to them all the time about. I'm sure they're tired of me, because consistently I'm like, hey, bro, how do you feel about this? Or do you think I should do this? They are probably the most influential people in my life outside of my family, and I wholeheartedly believe that it's the people around me that push me to do better. I think I'll call out P.O., which is my closest friend. He's told me no so many times, and I think because of the amount of no's he's given me, it's gotten me yeses in other places, right? Because he would never allow me to put out mediocre work, right? I call out Booby, and Booby's probably the most not cynical, but everything is not good enough. You know what I'm saying? In his mind, right?
Yeah.
And so consistently he gives me feedback, gives me criticism. You know, I literally think of all these people in my life. They're consistently pushing me to do better, to do more, right? All my LBs, like they've listened to millions of mixes from me, right? Brian, he's a lawyer, right? That's one of my closest friends. And like, he will literally write out paragraphs on, hey bro, I don't think these BPMs
and that means so much, bro. It means so much.
So I appreciate literally everybody in my circle. Like Mo, bro, like I can literally go on listing names and names. But the honest truth is, there's people around me that I literally could do anything for, because it feels like all the time they're doing stuff for me. But it's just love. Like I think if you have that sort of love around you, you're destined for greatness.
Yeah, I think it's important to recognize that, because you know, some people might take criticism and just be like, man, damn, again, and and like don't know how to take it, you know. But the fact you could use that. And like people writing paragraphs, like you said, Free. So you're like, okay, these people are really paying attention, really want me to get better, you know? They care,
that's
exactly.
Real.
You know what I mean? So
that's real.
That's dope, man. It's important to have.
That's one thing we talk about a lot, is paying attention to each other in real time.
Yes.
That's something I'm trying to practice every single day, and it's not easy, right? There's a lot of distractions out here, and it seems like you have a great supporting cast who's paying attention in real time, right? And you know, you can have friends that are growing with you or watching you grow, right? That's the best way I can describe it. So I'm glad you shared that and touched on that, because again, you know, we always want someone to watch and listen to these episodes and be able to pull and understand like what it takes, man. Like, people see your Instagram, they're like, oh man, he's popping, man, he's doing his thing, but they don't know what goes into it, and that's what's what's most important. You know,
just to equally build on that, just one statement.
Go ahead.
You can have that cast around you, but make sure you're equally in their cast as well.
Exactly.
Right. And I think that's where a lot of people miss the road. Like it's a two-way street. And I feel like even myself, I messed up in that area like a lot growing up. Right. You know. And so like now, consistently it's on the back of my mind. How can I help you? You know, and how can I be that friend for you? So.
Giving. I see giving as it's a way of life.
Yes.
It's not a strategy. And if you guys want to go read a dope book, go read The Go Giver. It's a really good book. Talks about that. And I think that's something that we all should practice anyway. You know what I mean? Like, who cares about the return? You're going to get it. The universe going to give it to you. How you going to get it?
One way or another.
You know what I'm saying? So just do right by your people, man. And, you know, man, that's dope. That's dope. People need to hear that. People need to hear this. Now, you touched on Mosaic. So you explain kind of what it is, but how did that come about? I know it's not just you involved.
Yeah. So, Booby, Mo, myself.
Yeah,
right?
shout out to them.
Shout out to the team, man. Again, if you notice, like those are still also some of my closest friends.
Yes,
right?
sir.
The three of us, there was originally like a conversation that happened that we needed to sit down and start having brunches to learn from each other and talk to each other. And that grew into a bigger idea of we need to start inviting people to these brunches and having conversations that aren't typically talked about. We've talked about things from mental health to physical health to financial stability to buying property to the Me Too movement. And a lot of people are like, why are men talking about the Me Too movement? But we realize that women aren't raping themselves, right? So what are we going to do as black men to stop this from happening? How can we hold each other accountable? How can we have deeper conversations? And the crazy thing about it, if you ask Booby or Mo, I'm the most cynical about Mosaic because like I'm so risk adverse as a person, and they're pushing the buck, pushing the bill, they're pushing me to be better every single day. So 2019, you're about to see a lot coming from the organization. So look out for the Instagram, look out for the website, look out for everything. It's going to be good.
I'm excited. And it's important, man. It's important that you just are doing something like that can be a representation, right? Like the attempt. We always say this: the attempt in itself is a win sometimes.
Exactly.
As long as you're trying. I feel like a lot of people don't try. That's the problem.
Just jump.
Just do it. Just do it. It ain't gonna be perfect.
Checks over stripes.
Hey man, Kanye gonna tweet at you, bro. Don't get Kanye to tweet at you, bro.
Nah, I think it's important because those are like probably some subjects that like people won't even talk about ever. If they weren't put in that situation to where
they're thinking about it though.
You know what I'm saying? So I think this is good, bro. It's a service in a way. You know what I'm saying? To where it's like you can get out there and be like, all right, who thinks the same way? You get other ideas and stuff. So yeah, bro. I commend you guys for that.
I appreciate
it. Seriously, man. Anything we could do, let us know, man.
Oh, for sure.
Anything we could do, let us know. Now, man, we could talk about a lot. We could keep going, man.
Okay.
Nah, because I do also want to talk about some things you got coming on the horizon as well.
Okay.
I know you're a busy guy, but before we do that, we also want you to tell us like maybe what's the craziest craziest story or moment you had, whether it's DJing a festival, a corporate event? What's the most bizarre shit you've seen?
I think
you know what? I don't know. I just want to know, man. All them experiences, man.
I don't really see too much bizarre stuff. I think maybe because I myself am focused. Like I'm like so in a lot of situations. So I don't drink, I don't smoke, I don't. So I end up missing pre-games, and I feel like everything happens at the pre-game.
I should have known that. I didn't do my research.
You know, I feel like a lot of crazy things don't. I'm just never in the room. You know. Either because I'm at the venue early or whatever's happening.
He got his alibi on point.
Right. You know,
he ain't never gonna get locked up.
I am a faithful black man. No. The truth is, like, I don't. 9 times out of 10, like, I'm kicking it. You know, like I'm.
For sure.
I'm all about good vibes and good people.
Yes,
so
sir.
9 times out of 10, I'm just not in the situation where I'm.
Well, what's one of the most positive dope on that note?
I remember the day I found out I was going to DJ for Pitbull. I remember I was in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania, and I was sitting with one of my friends, and she sat me down, and we were there for NSBE, National Society of Black Engineers.
Shout out NSBE.
I was there on Microsoft's behalf, and trying to recruit new students, and she was like, "Hey, do you have a second to talk?" And I was like, "What's up? What do you know to talk about?" She was like, Microsoft has this concert every year, this and that, and we think you should be the DJ." I was like,
wow.
This is like 5-6 months ahead of time, and I have to be quiet, hush. Can't tell nobody, you know.
Yeah. That's hard.
And this is probably some of the biggest news I've ever heard.
That's tough.
So I remember it was snowing in Nashville. I mean, I said Nashville. It was snowing in Pittsburgh, and I'm outside running in the snow. Like, bro, DJ for Pitbull. I'm super excited because I felt like my first big break. And things have just been on the up and up since. So.
Hey, I like that.
I see what you did there.
Wordsmith, man. Now, we on what episode was it with Denise? Right, with Denise Aguilar, we talked about the imposter syndrome.
Yeah.
And I want to ask you this because I'm sure there's a lot of DJs or people in general who get opportunities that they probably didn't expect to get as soon as they got them.
Yeah.
And they could, sometimes be questioning themselves. Why me? Am I fit to do this? Did that ever cross your mind?
Bro, it crosses my mind all the time.
Okay.
I think it's almost inhuman for it to not cross your mind, right?
Exactly.
But there's I watch Michael Todd a lot. He's a preacher out of Tulsa, Oklahoma, and he mentioned that God will only position you where He can provide for you. Right, and so I've just taken it as that, like, wherever He's putting me in this moment, I'm supposed to be here, you know, and He's going to figure out how I'm gonna learn how to mix all this music in 10 minutes, but like whatever it is, wherever I'm supposed to be, so I've now come to a point where it's like, if I'm here, I'm supposed to be here, and I know what I'm supposed to do. I've been given this opportunity for a reason, so let's succeed, let's excel, let's do great.
Exactly.
Man. So I got a question probably for like our younger audience.
Yeah.
Because you said you started your company
16,
right?
Yeah.
So were you getting like any pushback, or like maybe like older photographers or media companies were looking at you like not taking you seriously? Like, did you get through?
So what I did actually, at the age of 16, I looked for mentors. A lot of the photographers in the Dallas area were in their late 20s, early 30s. Yeah. So they didn't mind me tagging along with them and being a second shooter for free.
Yeah.
Right? But then people start seeing you, and you're taking their pictures, individuals sending their pictures directly to them, and then be like, then now their birthday's coming up, or now their whatever other events they could have are coming up. It's like, hey, do you mind coming out and taking these pictures for us? And you do it at a much cheaper rate, of course, because you're so much younger. Yeah. And that was kind of like my way in, you know? And then I got to college, and I got real cool with the club promoters. So on Thursday, Friday, Saturday nights, I'm taking pictures at the clubs, and again, I was doing it at that time for like $60 a night, so nothing, whereas people now are charging $250, $300. So I was, again, market analysis, right? I was always able to see what other people were charging, come in a little bit lower, but make more money in the end because I was getting more gigs, more bookings, I believe you can't overprice yourself. Like, just know what the market is and where you want to enter that market at, and then know who your audience is. Like, if you know nobody in the area can afford a $200 photo shoot, don't charge $200. If you know everybody can afford a $90 photo shoot, maybe charge $85, and you might get more business.
I just bring that up just for listeners that might be like, oh man, I'm not, the imposter syndrome, or they're just like, oh, I might be too young for this, I don't want to.
Just start. Just start.
It's real too, because I feel like I don't know, man, when money's involved, it tends to interfere with the creative process. You know what I mean? And so I like how you said that. Study the market analysis. It makes things make more sense when you start putting your prices out there.
Exactly.
And you could just focus on the craft, which obviously you got time to put in anyways because you're just starting out. So don't even focus on that right now.
Exactly. Especially not early on.
Yeah, it's too early for that.
You should be looking to just build your resume. You know? And the honest truth is, like, the younger you start, the better. I outside of God, like outside of his forces, I believe one of the reasons I got my job at Microsoft is because I was an entrepreneur. You know, they saw that extra, because that's on my resume, right? It's not, I don't just have my corporate experience, I have my personal experience as well. And they were like, what do you mean you've owned a company since you were 16? Tell me more about that. What does that look like? You're balancing your own books, you're doing your own, you know, like they're trying to understand what that looks like. Because at Microsoft, I essentially run a company on my own too, right? Like just a smaller part of it, you know? So a lot of those skills are transferable to different parts of the, you know, of the game of the hustle.
Yeah, and I think people overthink entrepreneurship. Yeah, sometimes they overthink it.
It's difficult, but it's simple.
Yeah. I think there's a lot that you can't be taught. Yeah, you can't read a textbook or watch a YouTube video and learn it. It's literally thoroughly experience. Yes, hands-on experience, and I think that's the only way you can learn. Exactly. Right. So I'm glad you shared that. Now, anything else on the horizon that people should be looking forward to? Any gigs coming up in the near future that people can pull up to so they can, you know what I'm saying, swag surf, whatever they're gonna do, work, whatever you want them to do, because he's controlling them, right?
The next large event that I have here in Seattle is probably gonna be my birthday. I throw a charity event for my birthday every year. Okay. We donate to the 234 Project in Nigeria, and we donate to the Children's Hospital here in Seattle. That's going to be February 2nd, you know, and I'll put the information out there. You can follow me on Instagram at OG Blast. We're going to be there. You know, buy a table, buy a section, enjoy yourself. Again, like, all this money is all for charity. Everything is going out. We definitely, I believe that, you know, once you've been blessed, it's time to be a blessing to other people, you know, so I want to do my part every year on my birthday to pay it forward.
That's dope. So. That's dope, man. Shout out to you for that, man. And, you know, we'll be there.
Easy.
We'll be there.
It's lit.
I'm going to put in my request, though. There's a couple songs I want you to play.
True.
You know what I'm saying? I ain't going to be screaming at you. You got anything else that you want to add on?
I mean, just where people could find you. I know you kind of just mentioned it, but, you know, how people could book you, whatever. You know what I'm saying?
The best bet, you know, is Instagram, right? OG Blast. That's my Instagram handle. That's also my website, ogblast.com. My Twitter is Blastography. SoundCloud at OG Blast. Just reach out, you know. I'm real easy to talk to. If I don't follow you back, you know, I still respond, you know, so don't take that as a negative.
Slide in DM, y'all.
Just I promise I'll follow back. You know, I'm down to earth. I'm probably really the easiest person in the world to talk to. So let's just have a conversation. Let's make something happen.
I appreciate that. That's dope. That's dope. Now, I don't know how familiar you are with the show, but I always close with the golden question. Can I just call it that from now on?
Yeah.
I'm gonna call it the golden question. So this is it's a question that'll sum up, you know, a lot that we've talked about today, but also to cast what's ahead for you and everything you're doing. So if you can, my brother, what's one word to describe what keeps you on the up and up?
Favor.
You can explain it too.
I think favor is the word for me. I wholeheartedly believe. I know I keep making a lot of religious references, but I don't believe that I'm doing anything or I am anything without God. And I constantly believe that God keeps placing me in places that I need to be.
That's real.
And that wakes me up every morning. You know what I'm saying? That keeps me going every day. It pushes me to hit new heights and to reach new levels. And I really just thank God for his work in my life.
Highly favored.
Yeah.
Highly favored. I think we all are.
Everybody.
You just got to realize it.
You got to tap into it.
You really got to realize it. Yeah, that's real. I'm glad you shared that. That's the first time we got favored too.
So I know. That's the first time.
Yeah.
Usually when someone says a word that we haven't heard, we're like, oh. Okay.
Yeah, we're like,
True.
But yeah, man, thank you for coming to the show, man. We appreciate you. This is long overdue. But again, like we talked about before the show, timing's everything, right?
Yes,
and the moment is right. But thank you for everything you're doing, for being a representation, for all the work, whether it's Mosaic, whether it's, you know, just being an entrepreneur, whether it's what you do at Microsoft, or whoever else you're impacting. Man, we appreciate it, and you know, you got our support.
For sure. I appreciate y'all a lot. It's been a blessing being on here.
Yeah, man.
It's all love. You know.
Any shout outs? You want to shout out Texas? Shout
out to the egg one time. You got Dallas across the chest. You know. Shout out to my family. And again, all my closest friends. Everybody knows who they are, and I appreciate them from the bottom of my heart.
Yes, sir.
Shout out to you guys for giving me this opportunity.
Always, man.
Everybody in Seattle that's ever purchased a DJ Blast ticket. You know. Thank you. I literally can't go down the list, but every single person that does anything for me. Shout out to Common Conduct. Shout out to literally everybody in the world, man, that has ever supported me. If you ever, I've owned a clothing line. If you ever bought a T-shirt, if you ever paid for a photograph, if you ever bought a video from me, anything, you know, like, I appreciate you. I love you. Big shout outs, DJ Karma, DJ Nightcrawler, DJ Spoon, and Cal Banks. They laid the foundation for me to learn how to DJ in the first place.
Shout out to them.
So shout out to them for helping me start and helping me grow every single time.
That's real. Man,
for sure.
That's the ultimate shout out right there. But yeah, man, much success to you in the future and everything you got going. You know, you got family right here. So anytime you need something, just let us know. And with that being said, I think it's safe to say DJ Blast is a member of the UpNUp.
Hey.